you watched Tiger King yet? Hey, welcome back to our Stupid Reaction Idiots. I'm Corbin.
I'm Rick.
And he follows on Instagram and Twitter.
Instagram.
Juicy content. Thank you for Patreon, follow Fish, Twitter account, ring the bell for our notification squad. Bang!
It's so juicy.
I messed up my hair with my banging.
Dang.
Don't you hate when you do that? When you bang too hard and your hair gets messed up?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact.
Hi. And today we are doing a movie review, our first in quarantine. And what better movie to do in quarantine than a film about another pandemic? I thought it was fitting. It actually is, because I think the number one film in the world right now is Contagion. That film that came out.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, more people have watched Contagion now than any other film, or rented it, or streamed it. That is the most popular film right now.
Yeah, there was we went into the week before, like we had just gotten back from India. Mm-hmm. So that was that Friday. That Sunday, we had gone to dinner, and we went into a Barnes & Noble, and there was an entire section. It was fantastic. An entire table dedicated to movies and books just about pandemics.
I think it's just human nature. Like it's happening. Like, so if like a tornado was happening, I'd probably want to watch Twister, honestly. Like if a hurricane happens, you want to watch some state. And also it's just fun to see the world end.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, everybody knows that if you want to get crucial, critical survival information for the current pandemic, what better place to go to than movies and books? I mean, come on. Exactly.
Matt Damon knows everything.
It's true.
So we watched Virus, and is our second Malayalam film that we've ever seen. The first being Kumbalaji Nights, and now Virus. They both came out in 2019. Do you remember watching the trailer for this one?
I do, very much. I remember liking it.
We watched it with Lexi.
Yes.
And I remember liking it a lot. And so I'll read the synopsis real quick. It's a real life account of the deadly Nipah virus.
Sure, why not?
Outbreak in Kerala, and the courageous fight to put on by several individuals which helped contain the epidemic. And thank goodness this was not the epidemic that spreaded the globe, because
no freaking joke.
Holy cow. This one was obviously COVID is its own thing. It's very, very contagious, but the death rate of the one in the film was like, I think all but 2 died or something like that.
Yeah, the mortality rate of this particular virus, if I'm not mistaken, was something insane. Like 75 to 80% of all people who got it died.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and died fast, like in a matter of days.
Yeah, and this was obviously a very ensemble piece. Which is that a normal thing in Malaya? Because Kumbalaji Nights was a very ensemble. This was, I think, even more of an ensemble piece.
It sure seems to be that way. I don't know if that's the case for all of the films, but the 2 we've seen were definitively ensemble.
But yeah, we really like to do spoiler reviews, so just go see it and then come back if you want.
We'll tell you that much out the gate without spoiling anything. It's worth watching.
Oh, 100%. One of my favorite things about it, just like Kumbalaji Nights, was almost all of the acting. There's one that I didn't like at all. We could talk about that later. But most of the acting was all so natural and very well done. It was no heightened, nobody was like going over the top or anything like that, with the exception of one person. But I think that's pretty accurate from what we've been told, and what we saw in Kumbalaji Nights, is that this industry really likes realism.
Yes.
As opposed to some, like especially in Bollywood, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they get really heightened and over the top with the emotion of it all. And so I really, really appreciate that. I enjoyed. Did you enjoy the? Oh, we'll talk about the acting. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the acting. I was really pleased. It wasn't. I don't. It's not. This is not fair to say necessarily. I was going to say it's not as good as Kumbalanji Nights.
Yeah, it's not.
But not many films are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but
Nope.
my favorite thing about it, right from the get-go, it's my favorite thing about the film is the believability and groundedness of everybody in it. And it's one of the, especially for smaller roles. I mean, one of the things, I've mentioned this before, I pay really close attention, as I know you do, to all actors, but I'm especially interested in people who have little roles or even doing background work, because the temptation when you're doing a small thing is to perform and have people like you, and this could be my break. And I didn't see that anywhere. I felt like everybody was pretty grounded and pretty believable. Go ahead. Especially one of the hardest things to do is to be believable when you're sick.
Yep.
That's not an easy thing to do.
No, because...
And I believed everybody that was sick.
Yeah, it is a hard thing to do, because a lot of people, because most people have never had these illnesses or
Correct.
ever had a seizure or ever had, and so it's not like a normal thing people just naturally do. It's
right.
It's almost an out-of-body experience that just kind of happens to you, and so it's hard. It's hard to emulate. And so I agree that I thought everybody in this did really, really, really well. And we could talk about somebody that we know from Kumbalanji Nights that I thought did phenomenal in this.
Yeah, it was so fun to watch him again.
It was really fun because I don't even know if I knew he was in it. Maybe I forgot. But the one I didn't like, there was one. She was the one that kept thinking it was a terrorist attack.
Oh yeah.
She was wearing. I think she was wearing red. I don't know who specifically it was, but she was one. She gave me
Sacred Games vibes of the woman at the end who was doing the password.
She did, 100%. That's exactly who this. So this was her younger, and then she got older, and then screwed everything up in Sacred Games.
Exactly, same character.
But that was the one actor. Me and my wife watched this with me. She actually turned to me even before I said it, she's like, she's not good. She's hard to watch. I said, I don't know how she is in others. Maybe she's really but outside of her though, since she wasn't obviously central, she was a very small supporting character, so that was easy to forgive. But everyone else was phenomenal, especially when our friend came in. What's his name?
I'm looking it up here.
Is it Soubin?
Yes. Wait, no.
Yes, yeah.
Is it?
It's
Soubin Shahir?
Soubin Shahir.
Yes.
When he came in, I was like, yes, because actually the one gripe I have with the film really is that the pacing, especially in the middle, was, I think, way too slow.
Yeah, that is the only, and I didn't dislike that lady as much as I think you and Stephanie did.
Yeah, I didn't like her at all.
But I would say, it flattened out a little bit pacing-wise in the middle of the film.
In the middle, so like the first fourth was like really good and it was really gripping, and then they kind of kept on like trying to figure it out, but almost too long.
It's one of the drawbacks. It really is so hard to take, especially a film like this.
That's based on true events. Yeah.
It's based on true events, and you're really banking on the tension. It's really hard to maintain that kind of tension for 2.5 hours. And you've got to make a 2.5 hour film because in India, you're expected to have the intermission. So really difficult to maintain a nice pace.
I don't know why they had to, though, because especially Malayalam. Because I think Kumbalanji Nights was 2 hours. I think the film with the bulls that came out this past year too, the Jaku or something like that.
The one with the trailer, everything takes place at night. Yeah,
it's I think like an hour 45. And so that industry is not. I don't know if they were just trying to cram all the information in there, and they felt all this was essential. But it was the middle parts that it wasn't bad. It wasn't like the acting was bad or like the directing was bad or anything was bad. It was just the pacing was way too long for the type of film that you were trying to go for.
And it could have been as simple. I mean, there's so many factors that can contribute to that. It really could have been something as simple as both the director and the editor didn't have the time they needed based on what the producers wanted for the release of the film.
Yeah.
And so what they had wasn't what they wanted. And they may very well themselves say, yeah, the pacing on this was slower because we really didn't get to take the time to edit it down the way we wanted to. So we just left it intact because we wanted to get the release done.
Yeah,
but I agree. That's really my only complaint with it.
Yeah, that and the actress is really the only things that I had a problem with was the pacing. And it wasn't like it got bad in the middle. It was just like, okay, I think you've hashed this out. I think we can move on. Try to speed this because it's in pandemic movies. They're usually the pacing usually goes fast to keep you engaged in pandemic movies. And I think what I heard, I could be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong, guys. This was the first almost outbreak pandemic movie in Indians' history. I think.
Really?
I believe so. I could be wrong. You can correct me. But I believe that's what I heard. But what I can say is the first fourth I really liked, and then it went slow. But right when Soubin came in, it picked right back up, and I was really interested again. When he came back in, it's the last hour of the film. He really, brought obviously the acting really high. I like him a lot. I'd like to explore him even more. I think I got him even more of an appreciation because I liked him in Kumbalaji Nights, but I think Fahad Fasil kind of stole the show for me, and so he almost got overshadowed a little bit just because of how great Fahad Fasil in that character was. But he really made me appreciate his performance in that and in this so much because I think he did a really, really good job, especially when he was the nurse told him that his mom hasn't touched the money, and then he started crying. I thought that was actually a really, really good scene.
I did
for
too.
Him.
Yeah, he does. Of the two things we've seen him do, I was very much impressed, obviously, with him in Kumbalaji Nights, and he just seems to be a guy who, at least in these two things, one of the best attributes we can say about an actor is they don't ever seem to have any false moments ever. Everything seems justified. Yeah. Everything seems believable, which is bespeaks the fact that the choices they make are well written. Because, as you know, there's no amount of good acting that can make up for bad writing.
That's true.
And you're absolutely right on. If you're doing a pandemic film, one of the things that keeps you engaged is this sense of things being out of control. And the best way that you can convey that sense of being out of control is the pace, where you feel like everything happening is happening at a pace that they cannot keep up with.
Yeah.
So I agree.
That's those are the only two gripes. But what did you think of the score?
You read my mind. That was the next thing I wanted to talk about. Was I felt the score was complimentary at every level.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the score. I thought it was actually really good.
Thought it was a great score.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the moments, and then they were not too heightened in emotional moments to make it seem like they were trying to get you to go somewhere. And so, and then also sometimes you just didn't notice, and it was really good that way.
As was the cinematography, because this is a film that if I were directing it, I would want a cinematographer, and I would talk with my cinematographer about the fact that this really needs to be. We need to back off on our desire to make this look artistically beautiful. And we need to make it almost feel like a documentary. We needed to feel really grounded and forego our sense of aesthetic for the sense of just be real and make people feel like they're a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
But
there were some beautiful, in terms of cinematography shots. There were the one at the end. I think there was a girl wearing I don't know if it's called a hijab. Forgive me if I'm wrong. She was wearing something around her head.
Yeah, that a Muslim woman would wear.
But it was orange. So
I don't think the color is a necessary matter. Okay. Yeah, no, and it is hijab.
But my favorite shots was she was wearing the orange hijab, but then she was standing in front of a orange background. I don't know if you remember the shot, and it was just a beautiful,
I don't
orange on orange on orange, and I liked it a lot. And I was like, that's the cinematographer saw that, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. They get excited when they can see those really pretty shots. But another actor that I thought did really well was one of the main doctors. What is his? I'm trying to see the guys here.
While you're looking at that, one of the things, I don't know if this is the case, but one of the things that was really intriguing to me was the way the emergency room was functioning compared to what we're accustomed to seeing in an American emergency room.
Yeah, I was bothered by a lot of that. Not by what they did in the film, but just by the fact that everybody was out there at the same time. Especially now, obviously, because, it's like, get away!
Yeah, there's no partitions between people. Nobody. A lot of folks aren't wearing masks and gloves, and
yeah, that bothered me on an inner level, just in terms of how much I don't like being around people in general and touching people. Much less when like in hospitals, I get even more heightened. I just don't. I'm like, just stay away from me. You're gross.
Hey, do you like to watch do you like watching surgeries?
No.
Okay.
I can't actually.
Really?
It grosses me out.
Oh wow, I love surgeries, man.
I can't even watch Dr. Pimple Popper. I can't do that.
Really? Yeah. Like we'll be watching. Oftentimes, I've been eating dinner and have watched Grey's Anatomy, and there's a really cool shot of some surgical procedure, and I'm leaning forward. I'm like, ooh, yeah, let's.
Yeah, I get even when like they try to do like stitches in films or TV shows.
Oh, I love it.
No, it bothers me. But yeah. So I would definitely.
Did you figure out the actor you?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Asif Ali. I believe he was one of the main young actors, young doctors that you were introduced in the beginning. I thought he did a really, really good job. I also thought the doctor who couldn't go home to his family but really wanted to, and then bought the backpack at the end.
Absolutely agree.
I think his name is
totally believable.
Joju George, I believe is his name.
Yep.
He did really, really well. I liked him a lot, and I thought the character they fleshed out for him was. You really felt for the fact that he couldn't go home to his family. And he had a son, and so that probably heightened it for me. And I was like, oh no, don't do that. But I think this film just enforces that. Just don't touch people.
Well,
also stop touching and eating bats. Like, what is wrong with the world? That seems to be the start of every pandemic movie. Or pandemic in terms of the COVID-19.
It's true. They've been...
They're probably not even that tasty. They don't have a lot of meat on them. So
no.
And two, they're like rats. They carry a bunch of disease. And so
true.
Stop eating them. We don't eat rats.
Yeah, we don't. And you don't need to touch them. I love bats. It's not a bat's fault that they I carriers of things. But if I found, like in the film, when he finds the bat on the ground, even with gloved hands, I'm not messing with a bat.
Yeah.
The only way I would ever touch or hold a bat is if I'm with a wildlife expert who has a bat and is handing it to me and is letting me know everything's good and everything's clean and everything's all right.
I was wondering about the end, though, because he was wearing gloves. The bat didn't bite him.
No, but it could have gone just strictly from the bat to the gloves.
And then he touched his face or something?
Yeah, it could have gone straight out of either urine from the bat, feces from the bat, saliva from the bat.
I know they said the saliva during mating season. And
saliva,
that's what it was. But I was like, okay, did he rub his glove all over his face?
Well, and the other thing that this also reminded me of...
people need to wash their hands. A lot of the people that were infected could have been healed if they would have washed their hands. Favorite actor in this. He was just touching stuff, rubbing everything, and then he didn't wash his hands. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. But it did. We said this at the outset. And before my last thought is I thought, as much as I didn't there wasn't the aesthetic beauty of some of the cinematography, I thought that was intentional and I appreciated it. And even though the pacing was off, I really felt that Aashiq Abu, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly,
which one?
The director.
Oh yes.
Did a really good job and clearly cared about this because he's also listed as producer.
Gotcha.
So, he put his money where his mouth is on the project, and I thought he did and it also bespeaks always when you've got an ensemble piece together, then the director with the casting director did a very good job of putting together actors that do a good job. So hats off to him for a very good directing job.
I liked like I said, I had no problem with any of the directing except for the pacing, and so that's between the director and the editor and everything like that. So that would be my only gripe with the film, outside of that one actress that I just didn't like at all. But yeah, other than that, I'd say definitely go watch this film, especially if you're in the mood for a pandemic movie like I have been.
Yeah, it was funny. The moment we went into the stay at home, Corbin messages me and he says, "Let's watch Virus." Which it really is. I mean, I've said this over and over again. As serious as the situation is, guys, we are in a really blessed situation compared to what this could be, because we've had a lot of other pandemics on the planet, this one included, that have been much worse
in terms of death rate. In terms of in terms of contagion, this is actually probably one of the worst, because
one of the worst.
Just because it apparently easily transmits super easy. But thankfully, the death rate seems to be not as high as, especially some of the past pandemics, especially for the broad of society. It's not good for people with underlying conditions, obviously, though, at all. But yes, once again, wash your hands, stop eating bats. Those would be the main things.
And pandolins. Don't eat those pandolins either.
Yes.
But that's...
Let us know what the next Malayalam film we should watch. I want to explore the Malayalam because I like my favorite part about films is the acting, of course, just because I'm an actor, so I'm almost selfish that way. But I love the natural style that I'm seeing from the Malayalam film industry. And so
I agree.
Let us know what one we should watch next. Also, possibly the next review, I would like to, if you would like us to, let us know if you would like us to do it live. Not live as in we watch it and you are watching us watch it. That will give us a copyright strike. But in terms of, we'll do a live video.
We'll talk about it.
And so you can comment while we're doing the review. And so let us know what film you'd like us to do that with down below. Stay safe and stop eating bats. Bye!